Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to show you how to make these cotton Christmas ornaments. They're recreations of Victorian Santa Clauses that would have been made in people's houses, usually of spun cotton or batting. These are going to be made out of batting, but the same exact principle can be used to make them out of spun cotton as well. Let's hop over and we're going to show you how to make these from scratch. Okay, so inside Santa are some wires. And unfortunately, the label came off quite some time ago, so I don't remember what brand this is, but this is a titanium or phthalate or something along that line. This thing's made to be bent like a ton of times or heated up to like 1,000 degrees and it won't hurt anything. This just happens to be what I had. It doesn't matter the brand, but this is about 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeter, I would say. Now, I've cut them up into pieces, like specific lengths here, and I've got the description on the lengths on these down below. So there's two identical in size that are both 10 3/4 of an inch. And let's see which one's which. This one here is 6 inches long. This one's 5.5 inches long. And then 3 inches long. So the one I start with first is this one here, and we're just going to twist these together. And what I usually do is I'll just grab some pliers. I've got these little tiny ones here that work pretty good, and then it's a little easier to bend it around and lock it into place. So that's just what I do. You can do it however you want. There we go. So we're just going to do this as the body. It doesn't have to look fancy or nice. These are the arms and legs. I'm just making loops with them right now. We're just going to make loops. So there we go. It's just to give it some thickness. So we're going to do the same thing here. There's no right or wrong way to twist these, so don't think you can mess anything up here. And I put where they connect in the middle here in the center. So now it's in the center where the connection pieces are, where we wrap them together. This just takes a second to do. I mean, it's in like 3 or 4 minutes you can have this done. And once you've done a whole bunch of these, you know, you might figure a better way to do it. This is the way I've done it for quite some time, just because I like this wire, I guess. I don't know. So this is going to be the legs. And now here, we've got the 3-inch piece. I use the small one here at the bottom, because I don't want a lot of bulk right down there. So we're just going to use this other piece, this 3-inch piece here, and we're going to wrap these together into one piece. You don't really even have to use this little metal frame, but I actually like it. It gives me something to wrap these on, and you'll see that in just a minute here. So that's the legs, and then we've got the arms up here. So I use a bigger piece. The last one here is the 5.5 inch, because it takes a little more to wrap them around these two edges up here. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. All you're doing is twisting these up on here. Again, this doesn't have to look like anything, because we're going to wrap this all in cotton, so it'll all be safe and sound. You don't even need this many wires. If you just want to get a thick wire and do one, I do 2 because it's easier to grip onto when there's 2 of them up there. If you want to do a fat one, you can spread this part out here like this, and it can be a fatter one. Or if you want to do a skinny one, you just bend it in there. Now watch out, because this could be a little pokey. You might poke yourself if you're not careful. Okay, so this is the basics here, the frame that I put together. And again, you can do it however you want. You can use pipe cleaners, literally, if you really wanted to under there. I just use this wire and always have. I've done a bunch of different ones like this, even like little dolls, which I'll include some other heads as well in the download for the Santa face here, so you can make something else if that's what you wish. Now, the fabric on this is a batting. Now, let me show you the wrapper on this. I saved it just for this. Now, there's many different kinds of batting. You only want the ones that are pretty much all cotton. This one has I believe a polyester like substrate to hold it together. There's no glue or anything in it, though. It's just natural cotton. Now you can also use spun cotton, which is a yarn almost that comes in big spools, or you can get it on Amazon in a big bag as well. But this here is like 12 bucks, and it's the size of a huge comforter or a quilt. So you can do a ton, and I do mean a ton of these. It's literally the exact dimensions, so you could just use that as the innards, the batting for a comforter or quilt, as I said. So what I do from there is I've cut it into long strips, just like you see here. And let me grab a pair of scissors, and we're just going to start wrapping it. I've got my glue gun like I always have before. This is an Ad Temp 2-temp glue gun. I use it on high. It takes the large size sticks too. It can glue anything really quickly too. So I'll just start checking it out here. And we're just gonna, we'll probably just wrap it first. Let's just glue a little bit on here. So just go ahead and I just do this. Let's get some glue on there. And then we're just going to lay this down. Fold it on in it on itself. It'll stick. And then from there, just give it a second. We'll just glue a little more glue right there. And then we can pretty much wrap it from there. Now that's why I use the wire, because it gives you something to fold it in on, kind of. So, and you can wrap it pretty tight. This is going to be the leg, obviously. Now you can make them as jolly as you want, make them as big as you want to. Just kind of decide on where you want to do it. And that's all there really is to it. You want to get it really tight though. So we're going to glue it right there. And then wrap it really tight around. And then we're just going to cut it off. Now this glue gun does get hot. My hands are pretty much used to it. I don't really worry about it. I don't burn myself, but you should be careful. It's not something I would let the kids do unless, you know, you're watching them the whole time. So that's one leg. So now we're just going to grab another section here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. Just squeeze some glue on there, however you want to do it. Give it a second. I always give it a second. And then we're going to fold it back over. Okay, so let's just continue. Like, the hot glue is literally the best way. I don't know what other way I would even want to use after doing the hot glue. We're just going to keep wrapping it. You can cut these strips down smaller if you want. I just cut one length right off the batting and went from there. I just glue it every so often just so it doesn't unwind. Kind of make sure they're the same thickness. They're darn close. And then we're going to glue it closed. One other thing too when you're doing this is to make sure that the seams aren't too bad where you glue them together. Between the legs, have it, or on the back. One of the two. That's what I would suggest. Now we're going to do the arms next. And I would leave a little bubble on the end like that on each of the hands. That gives them a spot to have a hand. Again, we're just going to... And again, you can do this any size you want. I just cut it this size because it's pretty much a standard that I have done before. So again, we're just going to put some glue on there, and then we're going to let this puppy set for just a second. You can fold it this way, whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong way, as I said, to do this. There's no right or wrong way to wrap it either. It can go in either direction you want. Now, if you wanted to use spun cotton, it's in a spool. You'll just have like strands, long strands, like yarn you would be doing the same basic principle with. I'm not sure what they did on the original ones because I've never wanted to take one apart to do it. Let's see, we don't want the arms that thick, so we're going to stop it right about there. Again, you can do it however you want. There's no right or wrong way. So, you know, just whatever you feel looks good for you. Okay, now we got one more arm. And again, if you cut it into these strips. I mean, look at how much strip I got still. So one section, one of these batting packages for the $12 would probably do, geez, I don't know, 40 of them maybe? I don't know, quite a bit. Quite a bit, because I barely touched it with this one strip I cut here. And I've already done the other one and another one. So I've done 3 so far with one long strip that I cut out. So let me get to the end again here. However you want to do this. I mean, again, there is no right or wrong way to do this at all. And we're going to fold it over. And now what we got to do is do the center part. And the main center part, I usually just cram something in there too, just a scrap of this. And that'll fill it in a little bit easier there, and then you can start wrapping. Okay, let's just start wrapping it. I'm going to glue it right there and a little there. I usually do one between the legs too, like this. And it just usually makes it a little more solid. And then go back over. Okay, now we got to put a head on them. And all I do is take a roll, and in fact, I'm going to make this a little thinner. You just want like a head's length. I'll show you in just a second what we're going to do from here. So we're going to take this and just roll it up really tight. In fact, we can put a couple dabs of glue. Get it stuck together farther in. We'll just do this. That should be just enough to get it stuck together. That's all you got to worry about. And we're just going to pull this tight and cut this part off here. That looks pretty good, actually. Now this is going to also be held on by a hood, Santa's hood, so we're not going to have to worry too much, from what I would say. And while we're letting that dry off too, I took some black felt for his shoes. And let me just show you what we're going to do with the black felt. I'm going to cut a strip of this off as well. Just cut a strip however you want. I just usually cut all the way down because I do multiples sometimes when I'm doing this stuff. So, and we're going to just get some random size here. These are going to be the bottom of the shoes. I'll show you this. So we're just going to, in fact, let's make sure we got it not too thick. Yeah, we're going to cut it a little thinner, I think. We'll cut this one just a little thinner. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for the shoes. We're going to just put some to start. And we're going to fold this into 3 segments. So you kind of want to equal it out to 3 ways, 3 sides. Now we're going to put a little more glue there. And that is the sole of the foot. Now we're going to do another one. It doesn't matter where you do it, how you glue it. Just fold it in about equal thirds is what you're looking for. If you're lucky, they should be the same size, which they're pretty darn close. So that is that part. Now we're going to take another strip here, and we're going to Get a thinner piece again. So this is going to be the bottom of the feet. Again, if they're a little off on the size, just bend them a little bit. You won't see it, I promise. We're going to glue this. This is the front. Make sure you remember which one's the front and the back. So we're going to start this. We're going to glue it around and then glue a little spot. And then we're going to cut it off. So that's 1 foot. And then this is going to be glued on the base down here for his foot. So that's all there is to it. So again, we're going to glue some on the back, and we're going to wrap it around. Get it right down on the bottom too, so let's just get some more glue. So that's the boots on him. We've still got to glue the head on now too. So we're just going to put a gob right up here. And we're going to get the end that's not flat and stick that down on there, just like that. Now you're going to have to hold it for a minute. You could even take a little piece of fabric just to kind of adhere it together, just like that. Nothing fancy. It's going to have a hood, and we're going to wrap him up anyway, so you won't see it. So that's the basics on the figure, and you see it's on there pretty good. It's not going to go anywhere. And if you really wanted to, you know, add an extra piece, we can do one on the front too. We'll just take a little piece here, just to be safe. A little more glue right around here, and squash that puppy on there. Now what we got to do is we're going to wrap it. Now this wrap that I do is bigger than the rest. So all I do is I kind of estimate how much is going to go around it, and we're going to trim it to size. There's no real size on these. You're just going to have to judge it yourself because every one of these is going to be slightly different. Now, you could make any character you want. You could have put a baby in there like that. I know it looks a little weird, but just whatever size you want to do it. I've got different Santa Clauses, so I could have done that on one of them, or a different baby, whatever the case may be. These are something that you can decorate all you want. You can put faux hair on it, or horsehair, or something like that. So here's the coat. We're going to tailor it to this figure, however you want to put the coat on here. The arms are going to stay visible just as you see it. So let's just see here. Every one, as I said, will be different. So we're going to cut a little snippet right there. And then we're going to cut it here too. And we're going to remove a little tiny piece right there for where his arm is going to go in. Okay, so that's one side. And you can see this is going to wrap up around here to hold this together too. When we do it right, you won't see it hardly at all. So it'll go like that. So just wrap it around. See where it falls. So we're going to have to cut here too. So let's come back out and see where our cut's at right there. Now we're going to cut out another little piece about the same size so you can see that 2 pieces cut out. You can always tell where the front is now because we got the feet on there, so that's always a good plus to put the feet on first. Let's wrap it back up on here. Once you're sure where it goes, we're going to glue this all down. So that's fine. It creates the back, so the hood will cover up everything else. And that looks good there. It's a little big, too long, so we're going to have to cut up a little bit here. So that looks pretty good. So we can start gluing this down too. And I'm just going to leave it right here. And we're just going to put some glue right there. I leave a little bit so I can pull it. I want this a little tight. Again, all of this makes the structure and the form of it, the thickness, the bulk of it. So all it is this stuff. You saw it's just wire. Literally, you can bend them and move them into place, too. That's a good part of this. Bottle cleaners don't work as good for the inside like that, in my opinion. Now, this one here, I usually just glue on this part here. You don't have to glue everything, so let's just make sure we've got it low enough so it covers up anything underneath it. So that looks pretty good. That'll go up there like that. Let's straighten this piece up. You see it's a little crooked right there. Again, it's nothing to this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll look kind of folksy if it's not. Let's go ahead again. We're going to run another strip of glue. Okay, now even if it flaps like that, it doesn't matter because we're going to tie a little belt around it. You'll get to see the belt in a few minutes. So now I do the back. We're going to pull this tight too. There we go. So the back, once the hood's on, it's going to cover up all of that. All this can be cleaned up too. You can just snip it off. And for the feet too, before we go too far, you can round them off to make them look more like shoes. That's all you got to do with those. That's why I glue that all together like that. And if you want to make the tips look more like shoes, you can do this to them too. It looks more like boots. Okay, so that's the shoes, the boots, the face. So now we got to glue this part. And we're going to come back in here. So we're going to glue this on in just a few moments here. But before we do that, here's the same thread I've used in all the other videos. And this is what I use for the loop to hold it on. So it looks pretty professional. It fits the age on this too. Let's just get a piece here. That looks good enough there. There's no right or wrong length to this. I know some people, if they do a whole bunch of these, they'll set up one specific length and they'll always cut it the same way. They can cut a whole bunch all at the same time that way. But I'll just knot them together like that, just like I'm tying shoelaces. And that's literally that part there. So now all we got is a few more things to do. So we need to get a hood for him now. So let's go ahead and see what we got going here. We got somewhere in there. So I usually, again, just cut a piece. It's about the size I want. I got a little extra so I can straighten it up. Let's just glue the face on right now, just so we're not worrying about that. Okay, we'll let that dry for just a moment there. If it's a little bent around the figure, that's fine too. I see them done that way all the time too. Some people will cut off the red part too, but for the most part, the originals were just glued on just like this. And you can see some minor damage from this being old. I don't worry about that either. I just go right with it and leave it on there. It just adds to the character of it. So you can see they're getting to be the same basic principle here. I'll show you how to do the gold part. That's a recreation or just a mock Dresden part on that as well too. You can put the same paper Dresden look on around the boots, or you could have it running this way and then all the way around the coat, however you want to do it. I just did it simple just for the sheer aspect of showing you. So let's go ahead and get the flat side. So that's going to be the hood, as you can see. And we're going to pinch it off to see where we need to cut it. And then we're just going to cut it down the back. And that's it. So that's going to be the hood right there. But before we do the hood, we need to glue this on too. So I usually just stick it underneath here, like right about there. So we're just going to glue this on. Next, so let's just go ahead and glue it down. Okay, then from here we're going to pull this out a little tighter. Some more glue there and a little bit right up here. And we're going to wrap this around and form that piece right there. We'll glue as we go along. I'm going to glue a little bit piece right there. Go ahead and glue some up here. And we can glue this back here too. Just have the hood touch on the back in the same spot. And then all we got to do is glue it over here. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can kind of see they're pretty much the same thing. Now all we got to do is do the paper, the Dresden part. And what I have is a serrated pair of scissors. And this is the same paper that I used in the last videos, all of them for the Christmas. This is just spray painted cardstock. And we're going to, however you want to do it, you can start on any edge. We're just going to cut out some of this. Line it up as you do it though. Make sure that the teeth go right back into themselves and it'll be continuous. And that's the paper Dresden part right there. Now you can buy some of this as well. I just do it this way, just the way I want to do it. Okay, so now all we're going to do now is wrap this around his waist. And again, I start in the back. I'll just put a little dab and one little line. Just enough to start it. You don't have to glue it everywhere. Just put that on there. And then we're going to wrap it up in a little more spots. We're going to glue it up in just a few more spots. Pull it tighter. And then if you're lucky, it'll match in the same spot, and you can just glue it over itself. And you'll cut it over here too. And then that is that part. So there we are. Now all I got to do is wrap the arms. All we've got to do is add pieces around the arm. And I cut a piece into size. And then glue it on. And that is it. Now we've got two of them. So it doesn't take very long when you're just whizzing them out and doing them on your own. You could use, again, cotton batting, or you can use spun cotton, whichever you want. They all come out about the same. You can change the boots up. You could use dyed red batting. You could dye this yourself if you wished. You could buy some spun cotton in red to start off with. It just depends on what you're looking for. A lot of the earlier ones were done in white because that's what they had. But that's what I got for you today. Well, there you are. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it gave you some ideas. Again, these are just recreations, some of the vintage kind. You can make them any way you wish. You can use any type of design or face for them also. You can put hands on them. You can decorate them in different colors, spun cotton. Anything you want to do with these, you can do. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.